Lincoln Biography. Abraham Lincoln, 1809–1865, was a prominent American politician, member of the Republican Party, the 16th President of the United States and a national hero of America. Always in favor of eliminating the slave system, he was known for his high moral principles and integrity. Childhood and youth. Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809 in Kentucky. His parents were natives of Virginia. His father, Thomas, was a wealthy landowner, but due to a legal mistake he went bankrupt by 1816 and the whole family was forced to move to Indiana. Shortly after the move, Abraham's mother died and his father remarried a widow with 3 children. Abraham was the only one of the children who was able to receive an education, though not systematically. He attended school for only 1 year. We can say that the future American president himself learned to read and write. He was especially fond of reading, and read almost all the books available in the county. The beginning of independent life. According to a brief biography of Abraham Lincoln, in 1830 he decided to leave the family. He traveled around the country, visited slave markets in the South, after which he became extremely negative about the slave system, and eventually settled in Illinois, in the town of New Salem. Lincoln devoted all his free time to self-education and in 1832 even tried to run for the state legislature but was unsuccessful. In 1833 he began working as a postmaster. This work enabled him to continue his self-education. Of all the sciences he studied law intensively. The beginning of a political career. In 1835, Abraham made a second attempt to get into the state legislature. The attempt was successful, he passed and became active in politics. It was he who was instrumental in moving the state capital to the city of Springfield. In this city he opened a law office. In 1836 he successfully passed the examination and was licensed as a lawyer. Lincoln, the lawyer, had an impeccable reputation, thanks to his oratorical skills, often won cases in court. It is interesting that he did not take money from insolvent citizens. In his public speeches he constantly spoke of the values of democracy, the importance of the Constitution and the need to preserve the legacy of the Founding Fathers intact. Political career before the presidency. In 1847 Lincoln became a Whig member of the House of Representatives of Congress. In 1856 he became a member of the Republican Party, like most Whigs, and in 1858 he ran for the U.S. Senate. During the campaign he again advocated the gradual abolition of slavery. Such moderate views were the reason he was elected the Republican presidential candidate of the United States in 1860. Lincoln won the election, but his election as president caused a split in the Union and the outbreak of the Civil War. Presidential activity and the Civil War. 1861 is considered the year the U.S. Civil War began. Lincoln was in a difficult position. He had to solve the problem of creating and providing an army, as well as getting the country out of the agrarian crisis. It was because of the internal problems of the North American states that the first year and a half of the war had little success for the North. In 1862, Lincoln managed to build and arm an army, got the Homestead Act, land grants from the state through the Senate, and finally settled on the abolition of slavery. Lincoln changed his views from compromise to radical, and this led to the writing of the Emancipation Proclamation, which became the basis for the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. All of these events marked the end of the South and the end of the Civil War. By 1865 the Confederate forces were finally defeated. Lincoln immediately proclaimed a course for the restoration of the South and the restoration of the Union. Re-election to a second term as president and death. In 1865 Abraham Lincoln was re-elected to a second term as president. That same year he was assassinated by Confederate supporter John Booth. The 16th American president was buried in Springfield. Family. In 1842, Abraham Lincoln married Mary Todd of Kentucky. The marriage was a successful one. The couple loved each other. They had 4 sons, 3 of whom died in childhood and adolescence. Interesting facts. It is known that while living in New Salem, the future president was desperately in need. He had to borrow often, but he always paid his debts on time, for which he earned the nickname Honest Abe. Another, no less famous nickname of the American president was Uncle Abe. Abraham Lincoln was physically well developed and excellent with an axe, as in his youth his duty was to chop wood for the house. Lincoln's biography is very vivid. This man was able to shatter the stereotypes of an extremely conservative 19th century American society. I will do what I can as long as I can. If I end up being right, all the words of my critics and detractors won't be worth a penny, but if I end up being wrong, then even if a choir of angels sings my praises, it won't change anything.